Alan, do you have a show code for Steve? And Margie?
Oh, I know it does that all. Oh, okay.
You guys ready? All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're here to talk about the next steps in the new day center. Of course, we've been working toward a low barrier shelter here in South Bend for some time. This came as a major recommendation, one of three main pillars of recommendations from a task force put together by former Mayor Pete in 2017. I put together a group at the beginning of my first term a number of years ago of how to implement those recommendations and others to make progress in our community. And we have been working on this for some time. We have looked at pretty much every site across the city of South Bend. I am very proud of the team in the Department of Community Investment. First, the team that was working on this project was led by Pam Meyer. She has since retired because this project has been going on for so long. We had hoped and joked that she would get it done before she retired, but unfortunately, this project has taken much longer than we ever anticipated when we began on this journey. But again, the city team has scoured the entire city looking for a site, and we believe that we have found the site. We are thankful for the South Bend Community School Corporation for their willingness to work with us and figure out a way forward with that site. We had talked to other partners, including those in the county on other potential sites, and there was not a willingness to move forward on the properties that they owned at that time. So again, we've always been open to suggestions from the community, from other partners about where the site could be. And if there is a better site, if someone comes forward with a better site, we would love to look at that. But to those who say we need these critical services in this community, but this site is not the right one, show us which site is better. Give us the site that's better. We've been working on this for years. Give us the better site. We've got some folks here. Where are the answers?
You want us to give you a better site?
Sure.
Well, you've had the task force and worked on it for years. Why haven't you come up with alternatives?
We've looked at it. This is the only site. This is the only
You
viable
have a
site at
list
this
of the
point.
other sites?
Yeah. This is the only
You have a
viable
list of
site.
the other sites?
What's that?
You have a list of the other locations you
Yeah,
looked
I
at?
mean, you know that we talked about Portage Manor at one point. The county said no.
No, do you have a list of all the other sites that you were looking at?
Sure, we can get you a
It's
list
on
of every site we've looked
Old
at. I am
Cleveland-
telling you,
Old
the
Cleveland
team
Road.
has looked at every parcel in the city.
Old Cleveland Road was a site owned by St. Joseph County.
There was a site on Old Cleveland Road. The county decided that site wasn't suitable. And you know what? At the end of the day,
Give us a list
we
of
agree.
sites, okay? So, because I haven't seen them, or I haven't been in contact.
You want to let him do the press conference, or you want to do the back?
No,
and
that's
forth?
fine.
No, he was
No, this is a
looking at
good
me and
this is a great dialogue.
No,
The
that's
point
fine.
being is,
Just, you can get that, the sites, so we.
we will get you a list of sites. We've talked to you in the past, and we have not had willingness to move forward on sites owned by the county. But if now the county wants to come forward with a new site, we're open to that. We've always been open to this. I mean, I would say that the folks at Our Lady of the Road have also had many conversations with the county. We've always been open to finding the best site. So if you have a better site, that's great. We'll be happy to look at it.
Okay.
If I
Sure.
could get you other sites, would you be willing to look at, like Caleb or Mayor?
Absolutely.
Because I think too, the services for those folks that they need, aren't they, Center for the Homeless, Hope Rescue, etc., aren't there services that's pulling them far away from their services, isn't it? That's how I look at it too. It's like they're further removed from
Well,
services
so
that they need.
the key is being on a bus line. If you're on a bus line, that's important. So that is if you're looking at sites, we want
But
to
there's
find
bus,
sites.
isn't there bus line closer to the services downtown also? Or no? There's a bus line.
There are
down
bus
there.
lines, yeah, throughout the
Yeah.
city. And like I said, the team has looked at sites across the entire city. This has been working on for years. But I'm saying, we are open to any sites that you can provide as an option. We will be happy to look at those.
Okay.
But I'm just telling you, I've been working on this for some time, since 2016, 2017, and every site has pros and cons. There is no perfect site. There will be no perfect site. This is the best site that we have identified to date. But again, if there's a better site, we are willing, of course, willing and open to reviewing that. But nevertheless, we know that these services are critical. There's a reason why this was a pillar of the task force many years ago, because it works. So to those who say housing first doesn't work, it works. Again, to them, what are the alternatives? What are their solutions for chronic homelessness? There's only three options. There's, of course, you can look at studies. There's scientific studies. They've done randomized controlled trials. Housing first works, is superior. But there are three options. There's do nothing. We know that's not going to do anything. There's treatment first. Treatment first, that's what the studies have shown. Housing for getting people stabilized in housing first, and then getting them connected to the treatment is more successful at addressing homelessness than doing the treatments first option. So this is a proven strategy for reducing chronic homelessness. This is not a radical idea from the left. This became federal policy under the administration of President George W. Bush. So this has been bipartisan. This has been evidence-based. This has been the community coming together, saying this is what we need to do to address this critical issue in our community. We've been looking for years. We've identified a site. Of course, we are very sensitive. We want this new center to be a good neighbor. But to say that it's not going to be a good neighbor, I think is also misleading. And, we need to clear that up as well. Now, you can point to Motels for Now. That's a temporary site that wasn't designed or built to be this type of facility. It was made out of a need because we had a large encampment and we needed a place for people to go. But Motels for Now is not a permanent solution. That can't go on indefinitely. But we also can't go back to large encampments in our city. So again, to those who say housing first doesn't work, what's the solution? What's your solution to chronic homelessness in South Bend? So we're going to hear from some more speakers here, but I will want to reiterate here, we want to work with the neighbors to make this work. I do not believe that having this facility is going to ruin the neighborhood. I think that is a misleading claim, and that is not something that we should just say, oh, of course it's going to ruin the neighborhood. I think we can find a way to make this work. And so we want to work with the neighbors, we want to work with the businesses. We will be having a public meeting next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Beacon, off Lincoln Way, to have those conversations. How can we make this work? Or if others want to come and bring alternative sites that are actually real, not just a pipe dream, not just a concept, something that's tangible, something that's real. Because action needed to happen yesterday. We need to move forward. And I can assure you that I will do everything I can to make this happen as quickly as possible. We need to get this done. No more encampments in South Bend. No more just NIMBYism. We've got to address real issues. No one's saying there aren't real issues to address, but we've got to address them, and we've got to move forward. And with that,
Mayor,
I'll turn to,
Mayor, why have
we'll
this
do
press,
questions, we'll do questions after we
why
finish.
have a press conference now instead of 3 days ago?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret File, and I'm the board chair of Our Lady of the Road, as well as the New Day Intake Center. Our Lady of the Road has operated the Motels for Now program for the last 3.5 years, and we've been very pleased to be able to house over 200 people permanently through our program, providing wraparound services on site and also bringing in doctors from the Beacon Memorial Family Residency Program to run a street medicine clinic. We also have social workers and have built a housing team to be able to accompany people once they get housed. We intend to incorporate these wraparound services at our new location, the New Day Intake Center, and we've been working on the conceptual design, which you see here. It will have a capacity of between 80 and 120 people with design features including a 10-foot fence all the way around. We know that we would need to get a variance for that, but we're happy to work with neighborhood stakeholders and look forward to those conversations to ensure that we can be good neighbors. We have been able to raise about 60% of the needed funding for this capital project, and we look forward to working with community stakeholders as well as public funders, including the State of Indiana Division of Mental Health and Addiction, to secure further funding. I can't express enough gratitude for the public support we've received so far, including CARES Act funding and American Rescue Plan funding through St. Joseph County, and the support of the City of South Bend for wraparound services and operating funds, as well as the purchase of the current motel location. We look forward to continuing those public-private partnerships because this is a need of the most vulnerable people in our community. And this affects all of our families. How do we meet the needs of the most vulnerable is a question of the common good of our community. When every person in our community is housed, we are all better off. We are all able to flourish. So we look forward to further public engagement to address any concerns and incorporate design suggestions. Thanks very much.
Do you track drug overdoses?
Hello, Sheila McCarthy, the Director of Motels for Now, the Executive Director of the New Day Intake Center. Our Lady of the Road opened over 15 years ago, serving breakfast, providing showers, laundry to people on the street. What they most needed was a home. There simply wasn't any possibility that that could happen until the crisis of COVID allowed for homelessness to be seen as the public health crisis that it is. We're very grateful to St. Joseph County for stepping up, providing the funding to set up Motels for Now, to allow it to find its footing, to bring in people that would not qualify for any other shelter, the hardest to house people in our community. I believed in housing first intellectually, but I wasn't sure how it would go in practice. It wasn't something we'd seen before. Our Lady of the Road's breakfast program is also low barrier, but how would that work in housing? It was, to my great shock and my great joy, to find that housing works. Housing is healing. When someone has a roof over their head, a place to shower, a bed to sleep in, they are no longer as agitated as they were before, as all of us know who have spent a night on a plane or a train or a bus, getting into a hotel room, being able to close and lock the door, feel some safety for the first time in maybe many hours or days. That's all any of us want as humans, to be able to provide that for someone who has gone years without that is transformative. We've been doing this work now, we're in our 4th year. We've had over 710 guests. As Margie said, we've moved over 200 into permanent housing, and more than that number have come up with their own best options creating a success rate of 78% of our total guests who are stable at the motel or have moved on to better options. That's incredible, considering the amount of deep trauma that people come with, the ways that they've been said no to their entire lives. When they're met with a chance at stability, people just want to heal. And to be able to provide that space for that to happen has been incredible. We're very grateful that the city has stepped in nearly a year ago, allowing us to purchase the property where Motels for Now is located, as we now prepare for a capital campaign to move to the next level for the New Day Intake Center. This purpose-built facility will allow us to really fulfill our vision of ending homelessness here in South Bend. It is possible. We've known since 2017 that this is what's needed. Our Lady of the Road knew 10 years before that this is what's needed. These are the same people that we have known at Our Lady of the Road, that we have housed at the motel, have now moved into permanent housing, now return to see their friends and community members over breakfast, now with their own apartments. That's immensely transformative. So look forward to continuing to create these transformative moments and introduce you to some of the people that have been transformed. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm Steve Camilleri with the Center for the Homeless. I've been there for 20 years, and I just love living in a community that cares deeply about the most vulnerable. That's why I've chosen to move here from New York. I've been here in South Bend over 33 years. Don't plan on going anywhere. Hope to be at the center for 10 years. Love to retire from there. Make it a good 30-year run. Wouldn't be able to be there without the great partners that we have in the community. And one of the very best is our friends with Our Lady of the Road Catholic Worker Motels for Now. I get asked more about Motels for Now and the New Day Intake Center than I do about the Center for the Homeless. And I tell everybody the same thing, how needed it is, what a kind, caring, heartfelt staff and team they have. We love working with them, and we need them. The community needs them, the Center for the Homeless needs them, Hope Ministries needs them, and anyone who is ministering to those experiencing homelessness have fallen through the cracks and are vulnerable. And here's why. Because there's a lot of you in this room, and I don't know everybody, but I do know there are some people in this room who live at the Center for the Homeless or who have lived there. But I know those of you who are well-resourced and have retirement accounts and work with a financial advisor, they probably tell you to diversify your portfolio. We do not have a diversified portfolio in our community to help those in need unless we have the New Day Intake Center. When Mayor Pete asked me during his administration, what does an enlightened city do to help those experiencing homelessness? I said, well, Mayor Pete, our team has visited 21 cities around the country, and we're seeing diversity. And a task force was put together, and it was great to be on that task force. And Mayor Mueller continued that, and it was great to be on his task force. And we were making such great progress. And I was so excited that we were going to have this New Day Intake Center. And I was disheartened that we have a little bump in the road. But I think it's going to make it all the more worthwhile when we overcome that hurdle. Because the people experiencing homelessness have overcome a lot of hurdles in their life. Get to know them. Talk to them. Meet them before you talk to us. Ask them what they need. They don't care if it's downtown. They just need a place. So Derek, put them across the street from the Center for Homeless. We'd love to have them. Put them on North Bendix. They'd love to be there. I don't really think that's the issue here. I think it's having a place where they get their feet on the ground, they could build trust with a great team, and then they could move into the housing that they need. And they have proven this great success. That number is staggering, 78%. You hear Margie talk about having 80 to 120 spots. I don't know if you know this, last week the Center for the Homeless took in 80 additional people. We don't have the capacity to do that in our Weather Amnesty program. which runs only from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So where do you go when it's negative 29 degrees with the wind chill? I need you to really think about that. It's tough to walk out to your car without gloves and across a parking lot in negative 29 degrees. So imagine you got to find out where you're going to go after 8 a.m. It's tough out there. So I just am here in full-hearted support of the New Day Intake Center. I'll take any questions when it's time, but I just got to tell you, what I know in this ministry is this is really important. And this just moves us so much closer to functional zero homelessness. All the agencies in this community need this program. So I really hope we can figure out how to get there, because we've been really close and we keep making progress in our community to end homelessness. And I'm convinced that we will. And every time we have to meet, I will be as passionate as I am today that this is what we need to do. So I just really appreciate being part of this day to talk about this, and I hope we can move forward together as a community.
I'm Caleb Bauer, Executive Director of Community Investment with the City of South Bend. Thank you to all the speakers and all the partners who have been part of today, but more broadly who have been part of building a solution to reduce the number of chronically homeless individuals in our community. I think sometimes it's helpful to demystify some of the terminology that is thrown around when we're talking about homeless services, because it can get a little technical. So I want to talk about what is the broader strategy and how does an intake center fit into that strategy. So an intake center is a low barrier shelter that is one primary point of entry for people entering what we call the continuum of care. And that continuum of care is a lot of different partners, including Center for the Homeless, Hope Ministries, Life Treatment Centers, Real Services, all sorts of other partners, the Housing Authority of South Bend, who then work to find stable housing options for individuals depending on the circumstances in their life. So there could be someone who has substance abuse issues. Obviously, they're going to need some counseling. They're going to need support as it relates to substance abuse. There could be someone who has some serious mental health challenges going on, and so they need help there. There's a lot of people who might have both. So that's what the continuum of care is about, but it is all of the different partners in our community working together. So the intake center is not the only solution. We also need more rapid rehousing resources, which are housing units that are available for a finite amount of time for individuals to get into a home, typically an apartment unit, quickly and in a stable place, and then work on what is my next step, what is my long-term housing solution. As well, we continue to build and will continue to build more permanent supportive housing units. These are units that are generally more of a standard apartment complex that has all of the wraparound services for a homeless individual and does not have a timeline by which they must leave. So if someone can get stabilized, we can help them get employment, we can work with them to deal with substance abuse issues, deal with mental health challenges. And you see that at places like Oliver Apartments and Hope Avenue Homes. Those are two permanent supportive housing developments in the city. There will be more coming in the future. So the intake center is the intake piece of this formula. It is not the only piece. There are many other pieces, but it is a critical piece, and we need to develop a permanent center so that there is one centralized place where people can access this continuum of care. I want to thank the Center for the Homeless, all the service providers, Real Services, Housing Authority of South Bend Heritage Foundation. There are so many different partners playing a very important role in helping to solve this very difficult to solve social issue. And so I want to thank them, certainly want to thank the Motels for Now team for the work they're doing. I agree with the mayor, we don't have time to kick the can down the road for a number of years to have this be held up because we're concerned and saying that that Housing First doesn't even work. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. There are plenty of studies on the Housing First model, and it is clear and evidence-based that it is the most successful model. Our federal government uses it. The Department of Veterans Affairs has had a lot of success with the Housing First model. But again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Appreciate all of the folks for coming out today. Mayor mentioned it before, but We will have a public meeting at 6 p.m. next Thursday, that's February 1st, at the Beacon Resource Center on Lincoln Way West. The exact address is 4210 Lincoln Way West. So would appreciate all of our partners in the media if you can help share information about the location and time for that meeting. That's going to be a chance for the Motels for Now team and others to give a little bit more information about the project, but primarily a chance to hear feedback from neighbors, residents, others with alternative solutions if they have them. We're certainly happy to do that, to hear those. And so hope people are able to make it out. Press members, if you're able to share that date and time, we would be very appreciative. I think now we're ready to take questions.
And Mayor, I heard a lot about partners and good neighbors and all of that. Why wasn't why weren't the businesses and the folks who live in this new area contacted, consulted with, and kind of had a discussion prior to all of this starting?
That's a great question, and really, we've been working, as I said, we were looking at sites across the city. This was one site that emerged, and we had conversations with the South Bend School Corporation. To be fully transparent about this, we did not have a lead time here on that they were going to move on it at the board meeting on Monday. Obviously, in that way, I think may have taken the community by surprise, and that happens at sometimes, and certainly there was no intent to push this through without people knowing it, because this is the beginning of a public process. So what the schools did on Monday was say they are willing to sell this to the city. Then what was taking place yesterday was the city saying, we will purchase that from there. From there, there's a whole host of things that have to happen for this to become a reality. Lots of public processes. For one, there will have to be a rezoning, so that would go through the Common Council. Two, it takes money to build this thing. So money will have to be put together with private and public partners, and that will go through a public process. So to say that this is, in the dark of night we were trying to get the center done is not true, because this is just the beginning of a long process.
Well, the city isn't going to buy a piece of property for $225,000 without a plan, right? I mean, you have a plan, and this was...
Of course, we've had a plan for years. I mean, we know what we need. We've been looking for a site to put it on.
Yeah. One more question. Do you know how many drug overdoses have happened at Motels for Now?
I do. I'm not aware of the number, but we're well aware that this is Motels for Now services vulnerable members of our community who are suffering from both mental health and or addiction, and so to place this at the service provider's foot, when these folks would still be suffering mental health and addiction, whether they were at Motels for Now, or they were at an encampment in downtown, or they were somewhere else in the city. So to put that at the foot of the service provider, trying to connect them to the resources to thrive, I think it is just the wrong approach.
I think a lot of the concern for people is bringing those drugs into the community. I mean, there were within 3 weeks there were two deaths with Our Lady of the Road properties. Both of them had been involved with Motels for Now. It was a 2 or 3 week period, and they had just gotten a ton of taxpayer money. How much Narcan is going to be there, what's going to be done to ensure that drugs are brought into this community, near a daycare, all that stuff.
So, like I said, my answer to your first question, I think, stands for this, but to elaborate on that, there's also going to be a robust security plan. And, of course, we're going to, as you move forward in anything, you learn and you get better at connecting folks to the resources they need. Now, no one can guarantee we're going to be successful with every individual. That is not a realistic expectation when you're dealing with folks that are suffering severe issues. So, if you're looking for a perfect site, if you're looking for a 100% success rate, you're not going to find that. You're not going to find that anywhere. No program, no policy, no site can meet that level of expectation. But what we can offer is successful outcomes. We can offer a path to folks leaving chronic homelessness, overcoming their mental health challenges, overcoming their addictions, and getting back to a thriving life.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, Do you see a potential conflict of interest that Oliver Davis is a board member on the new intake center, but also he's a city councilman who will be voting on the rezoning and any potential money transfers?
That's a question for the council's attorney to determine whether that poses a conflict of interest, but, you know, that's something that he'll have to review,
Thank
make
you.
a determination on.
You, Mayor, do you think this organization can actually guarantee that the things that are going on Lincoln Way, when they move to Bendix Drive, are not going to continue to happen in that neighborhood? Is what's happening in that neighborhood? Is that actually something that this organization can guarantee, that that kind of a situation will not happen? I live all the way out to the state line, and I see the movement of homeless people in that area is tremendous to me that we've never seen before, are coming into the city, down Portage Road, down Adams Road. We have people that are in encampments out there in people's barns and stuff. I mean, do you see that, is there any way that can be guaranteed? I'll just ask that as a question first. And if you ask a question about an alternate site, I'm looking right out the window at one. Who owns all this property? What would be better to have an intake center right here by the police station, by the homeless center? What about all this property right here? Can't it be put up here where it's away from residential neighborhoods and businesses
Yeah.
that are trying to pay a lot of taxes, that have been in business for many years, supporting this community? I was the first business with my son to be in that area. That was German Township years ago. We were the first business to come in that area. We opened that corridor with our business there, and then Walmart and Myers came after us. We're very concerned with the loss of our business and our property's value going down if this kind of situation happens. And that's why I asked the question, can this organization guarantee that the things that are happening there now will not happen where they're going to move?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and of course, we want to figure out a way to make this work for the neighbors, including yourself. As I said before, perfection, we can never guarantee perfection, we can never guarantee 100% success rate, but even in the existing place, the Motels for Now off Lincoln Way, the calls for service have gone down over the years. So as they've learned, as they've been able to put more resources, things have gone in the right direction. With this location, there's more room than at the existing location. There's more ability to build it in a way that does protect neighboring properties. And those are things that I know Our Lady of the Road is committed to doing, as well as the city as a partner, making sure those happen. We're of course willing to work with any business owner to make sure that they have the resources to maintain security to their property and can protect their interests. So the guarantees are tough. This area, a number of years ago, we proposed, not necessarily here, but we have looked at this site when I was in my former role, and that was ruled out after a number of different public input processes. So I can tell you, this is a site that I remember looking at before I became mayor.
What's wrong with it?
Well, if you recall, and it was a fair statement at the time, the southeast neighborhood, when we proposed, one we proposed was across from the fire station on Michigan, if you remember that. And the southeast neighborhood came out very convincingly in a lot of people's minds, and mine included, in that they said, we have the Center for the Homeless, we have Life Treatment Center, we have, Hope Rescue Mission is not too far away. Why are we the neighborhood that carries the burden for the entire city? And so when we did, and then there was an effort to put permanent supportive housing over, on the near west side of South Bend. That didn't go forward because folks said, well, why does everything go, in these few neighborhoods? Why? Now, there's one answer, because, there are only a certain amount of neighborhoods that have a lot of empty lots to build on. So there's an answer of there are more empty lots in certain neighborhoods than others. So that's one answer, but we heard that, and so that is one reason why the Hope Avenue apartments, permanent supportive houses, are over on the east side of the city. And so we're just looking for the best sites for all these things, and we're looking for a shared responsibility across the entire city.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
My question is, so this is gonna be a $14 million new facility, is that correct?
The cost, I mean, I have not seen the latest cost estimates, but
Something like
I think
that.
that's a, 10-ish, 10 plus, yeah.
I think a lot of our concerns are because this is low barrier, you don't have to follow sobriety rules, and you can get free housing. This is going to attract people from outside of South Bend, wanting this great new facility with free housing, and they can do drugs and alcohol there, and that'll be okay. So we're nervous about that influx that's gonna come into the community, specifically because it's low barrier.
Yeah, and I think this is an important misinformation to address. They are not allowed to use drugs on the site. What the low barrier, it doesn't say no barrier, it says low barrier. What low barrier means is they don't have to be fully recovered, or they don't have to have gone through treatment first before they get housing.
But there's been, we have seen that the person that works there wears Narcan on his neck. There's overdoses there all the time. There's definitely a closed eye to the drugs and alcohol that go on there. And we like incentive-based programs that work and help people instead of giving them a home where they can just sit and overdose and then die quietly. We don't consider that a successful model.
Right, well, I mean, I understand that you do not believe in housing first, and that's certainly your right to have those views. I mean, housing first has undergone studies. There's random controlled trials showing that it's superior to treatment first programs. Again, I know that we're in a different political time than we've been in, but it was adopted by the federal government under President George W. Bush. And so, I would love to have more conversation to figure out where we're not, where this disconnect is coming from, and we'd love to try to figure something out.
In California, that is the prevalent model. All of us know California is trashed because of that model, and they cannot control the homeless. It has just grown and grown and grown in number. It has not come down. And so when we see pilot programs like California fail, and we want to bring them here to our community, we want to say no to that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the right, I mean, I agree that I would also agree that we don't want to become California. 100% agree with that. And I don't think that this policy has anything to do with that policy. And, we can share data on where the folks that are using these services are coming from. They're not moving here from across the nation. They're not moving here beyond our region. Now, would we like more shared responsibility in our region? Would we like our neighboring cities to do more to help our region's population? Absolutely. But, for better or worse, we're the biggest city in the region, and we're the ones who have the services. And so, of course, yeah, we serve the region. But yeah, if folks out, in the rest of our region want to step up to serve our residents, that would be great. But all evidence, and we can get information to you, the people, they're not moving here in droves. They're here from our region.
Mayor, I do have a question about safety. So twofold, have you been out to that property recently, and would you feel comfortable, say 7 o'clock at night, going out to that property and walking around by yourself?
I have not been there in some time, but, I think if you're really asking a question about how do you feel in safety, that's a big question, because are you safe is often different than how you feel, and different people feel safety different ways. So, I hear all the time that, I'm not trying to change the question, but I hear all the time, downtown's not safe. Well, I live and work downtown. I've never felt unsafe downtown, but I know some people do feel unsafe when they're downtown. There's not a place in the city of South Bend where I feel unsafe. There's just not. And I know a lot of people would disagree. Some people, their perception is they would say, I feel unsafe here, I feel unsafe here. Some people say they feel unsafe downtown. But when I campaigned, I went door to door across the entire city. There's not a place in South Bend where I feel unsafe.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
Sure.
My name is Princess McCullough. You look at me, I'm 81 years old. I came from a situation where my husband and I had a $300,000 home in Granger. From 2014 to now, we fought to save this home. We paid it off twice. But crooked lawyers came in, went to court, and foreclosed. I mean, it was tragic. My husband passed in 2020. I became homeless. I am homeless. Sir, look at me. I'm not trash. I am a PhD. It can happen to me.
That's right.
So when someone comes and says, they're going to be doing this and that, that is stereotyping. Any one of us, at any time, can get that knock on the door by the sheriff, you're evicted. So please, we were riding in our Cadillac, going down South Bend, seeing people with bags, and saying what? You know, they need to get a job. They're lazy. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Being homeless is the greatest blessing I have ever had. Because it brought me into the reality of what each of us are. And this gentleman standing here, thank God for it. Thank God. If I have a problem, I can go directly to him. So we are not bad people. What you see is a very small group of people. And as I said, centers built in near communities are not going to bring the derelicts in. There is an understanding that we are going to have an economic crash. And people are working to have centers built near these high-end communities so that you can go there temporarily, get on your feet, and then come out successful. And that's my testimony. No.
Hello, I'm Ruby Brower. I'm that life coach in this community. I'm that life coach at the public library on 3rd floor. I agree with my sister here, and I'm going to tell you why I agree with her. I've had my business in food pantries, and I've had my business lots of places. But what I see at the library, talking about low barrier, they put a refrigerator upstairs where people can eat. They can allow them to sleep around all day at the library. I have a problem with that. I'm going to be honest with you. But what I do, I go in that library and I nudge them. I say, baby, what you going to do for yourself today? And, you know, and I encourage people to get up and to do something for themselves. And one of the problems that I had as a life coach was that many of the people who want life coaching, need life coaching, could not afford life coaching. So we were able to find someone who will help people to be able to do it. I cannot, as my sister said, support low barrier to the point where, but I understand Maslow's laws. They taught us that in college, that people need to be taken care of, food, shelter, and clothing. But when I see people lay on their backs and say, feed me, shelter me, and I get high, or I use my money for other reasons, I have a problem with that. I really, really do have a problem with that. I would love to work with the city because I'm working with the doctor right now. And one of the things is we say, we have our own cultural issues on top of the issues that people are dealing with out here as homeless people. So we're training life coaches right now to work with these issues. I would love to work with the city and with the doctor to train these life coaches to reach them. I would like to see more of us in that library who says, no, I'm not going to let you lie around all day. I'm not going to make it comfortable for you. Maybe the city has made it comfortable for you, but I'm not going to. And everybody knows me on third floor. Come on, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Let's get up. Let's do something. And so they are getting up. They're doing something right there at the library. So I'm so thankful to be in this meeting. Miss Princess says, we're going to this meeting. And I was like, I'm not going in there. I wasn't invited. She said, come on, let's go. So I'm in this meeting today. I had no idea this is what we're going to be talking about. But please, I am Ruby Brower. I am the life coach in this community. And I say that those people are going to get up and do something. But if you don't invite them to get up and do something, guess what they're going to do? They're going to lie around, eat, sleep, and get high. They're going to do that. And they're going to use their money for something else. The money, those people, I'm going to be honest with you, they're getting checks out there. Now, everybody who's out there ain't homeless. I mean, they're not impoverished. They've taken their money to do what they want to with it and using our money to take care of them. I have a problem with that.
Thanks for that perspective. You know, I think I want to note part of the thinking behind the Housing First policy is we're trying to keep people alive and get them out of the continuing cycle of chronic homelessness. And if you don't know what chronic homelessness means, that means that someone has been homeless for more than a year or more, or has experienced 3 different times of being homeless that account for, I think it's more than 1 month, in the last 3 years. So it could either be someone who's been on the streets for a long time, or someone who's been able to get off the streets but keeps getting back, losing stability, having to try and get back on their feet. But like I said, what evidence shows is the Housing First model helps get those folks, by providing them with shelter, helps them address the underlying issues that they have, substance abuse, mental health. If we think of a treatment first model where we say you must be completely sober to access any housing, you must have undergone and be being treated by a clinician for your mental health issues, then what's going to happen is the most severe chronically homeless individuals are not going to be able to get services because they can't be reached. They're not able to be sober. They're not able to have access to a psychologist or potentially prescriptions that can help them stabilize their mental health situation. So the model, Housing First, I think the question for the community to ask is, do they believe that that model is successful? The federal government believes it's successful. The state government, IHCDA, believes it's successful. It is proven time and again that it is a successful model, but again, I encourage the press, everyone here, do your own research. Don't trust me. Go out and take a look. There's a lot of studies, and I think it's very compelling evidence. Thank you. I think for now we're happy to do pull asides.
Can we just do one more for me, please? Just bear with me. So I appreciate that. That's awesome, and I love that. And you're right, we need more of that, okay? So there's no political reason for here. This is not even the story to share with you. I wasn't even planning on talking. I didn't even know this was actually going on to the last minute. But basically, I've been here for 24 years. I live right up the street. Had a business on Miami Street before we moved 3 years ago out to the location you're talking about, okay? Passionately care about the homeless. Walk up to the people. The people can stand with a sign, getting a free handout. And I used to give them money. And I had a pastor come to me one time and says, you know what, you don't do that, you send them to the homeless shelter. You send them to Hope Rescue. Put your money in there. Spend your efforts in there. Send them so they get the help they need. Don't give them a free handout because they go buy drugs or do whatever they can with it. Not everybody, but some that do. So then I started buying food for them, taking care of them that way. I'd go one time, someone standing there, I went to McDonald's, drove by, and they took the package from me. I said, here's some sandwiches and that. And they tossed it, and it was a pile of packages. I wasn't the only one who thought of it, right behind them. I wasn't benefiting anybody. It was going to go to waste. What can we do to help them? I'd give them a business card and say, call me, I'll give you a job. We travel over the country. I've been doing this for years. I actually rented a house for a year, and I put 4 homeless people in them and tried to work them through that whole cycle. A lot of things don't go well with that, but I did the best I could to help them all the way through. When I share these for this reason, that I have firsthand experience with trying to help without being involved with anybody else, just on my own as a citizen, because I do care passionately about the homeless. I understand the drug addiction. Some of these people are some of the best workers ever, so they got back with the old crowd. And I tried to separate them from that crowd. That's why I bought a house. I rented a house for them to be in for every year. A lot of times it got trashed, so those things didn't go well. But I was keeping the good fight. To this day, just now I had an employee that we hired, gave me the homeless year shelter as his address. Had him working, worked well, great work, showed up work every day. We thought, make sure bus routes, right, were important. Didn't know they never took a bus. He walked all the time, didn't know that. Didn't show up for work, tried to find him. We went to a homeless shelter. My son did with his wife. Wasn't there, wasn't checked in yet. He couldn't get in. He was waiting for the November 1st date to come in. He got arrested staying out at the airport. He'd sneak in at night and go in the bathroom. That's where he stayed. That's what he tried to do. Good kid, really good kid. I find he's in jail. I go bail him out of jail. When I bail him out, they don't tell him, and this is just something that's just schematics, who's picking him up. So I have to wait hours for him to come out. When he comes out, he comes right out the door and he starts walking up the street. So I walk up to him and I go, where are you going? And he goes, oh my gosh, boss, why are you here? I come to get you out. You need to get to work, right? You need to get to work. And I said, where were you going? He says, I wasn't going to go anywhere, but I was going to, it's cold. This just happened a couple months ago. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go to the library because I can go to the library to get warm. That's where we go. I'm not going to go in a lot of detail because you shared greatly, but I do know their story from where they have to go and what their needs are from living with them. I live with them. To put another building across the street that you talked about, I saw the same thing. I see the land. I think, Mary, you were right. There's a good opportunity here. But again, we think about the 80 to 100 people you're helping. It's much bigger than that, right? It's just another piece, it's another step. And Mayor, what you're doing and what you guys do for the homeless in the city is fantastic. You don't have a fight with me on that. Helping the homeless, there's no fight here. It's the location to help them and benefit them. If you go stand where I stand, my fence is right up to that property, there's nowhere for them to go. And Caleb, you and I talked about this a little bit. The busing is great to have a bus. What are they going to do all day long? What are they going to do when it's cold? When do they want to be inside? They're going to be out walking around. And where they're going to be at night? We're not talking about an encampment where we're putting them in, putting the fences in. That's an encampment right there, right across the street. When they come out that door, they don't know where to go. We got to be able to help them know where to go. This is a little thing we can work on later, schematics. But to help these people, we need to help these people. There's no doubt about it. And the argument you have about the California issue, I think it's valued. When I work with these guys, I'm trying to get them off the drugs. Now, I don't have the resources, Mayor, that you have for the city to help them. I'm just a simple owner, business owner. But what I'm saying is I'm telling them, you've got to clean your act. I'm trying to do the recommendation. They do need coach. They do need help. They need support. I'm limited to what I can do to help them, but I have passion. I care about them. But to put them up there, and I'm thinking about walking across Cleveland to get to Myers. That traffic is there. I wouldn't walk across that. Now, I know I'm getting older. I'm not as quick and agile as I used to be. It's not safe for them walking everywhere they go. And we are seeing crime. Tom can tell you what's happening. They're breaking in all the time. He can't keep the dryers, the money, whatever. We've had a car smashed the other day. Broken in, they're going into. I'm not blaming everything on the homeless, but there is a lot of that where it's coming in, it's coming through. So it does have an effect. We got to help them not to be homeless. And I love what you guys are doing. You're trying to do that, get them a place of responsibility. But I think there's another step. And I know you're going back to Bush, you're looking at past administrations. That doesn't matter to me anymore. This is you and your administration. You might be able to figure out something even special and better that can help all the cities going forward. And I want to support you, Mayor. I want to help you, Mayor, in everything you're doing because you have done a lot of great things here. We got to find the next step, and we got to be responsible. It can't just be rushed. And Mayor, we come at you saying, it looks like you rushed it. You've been working all those years. To us, we have not been engaged. This is a rushment to us. I've just known about this for the last few days. I didn't even know this was happening, that we have. Just last minute, I got a call 30 minutes ago and said, hey, there's it, can you make it? I've got to change my schedule to come here because this is important to me. It's like that lady who held a gun on someone, told a story yesterday, and I'll stop real quick, I know everybody's busy, held a gun on somebody that was homeless, that broke into her home. little boy watched. She drove around school when she heard about this. She was taking her kid to school and came right back. Those things happen, they're real, they're live. We do care, we want to be here. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you, kids.
Thank you. Encourage you, yeah, please, I do encourage you to come next week at 6 o'clock on Thursday at the Beacon Resource Center on Lincoln Way West.
I will really try to do that.